we go with Chapter 1, Video 2 on adding integers. So, a couple targets here. Fill these in on your paper. We recognize that adding opposites will always make 0. That's something we're going to look at. It'll come up. When another name for opposites is additive inverses. Additive inverses, so opposites. When we put those together, it's going to make 0. We can add integers. We looked at integers a little bit already. When we add those up, what kind of answer will we get? So, we know here in our target it says when we add a positive on a number line, we're going to move to the right. And when we add a negative on the number line, we're going to move to the left. Okay, we'll look at examples of those. And then we'll get some story problems, probably not in the video, but as we practice in class, where we're going to have to write and evaluate expressions that use addition. So, story problems where we're going to have to add. So I want to set this up a little bit. Your paper, it says, for our examples, we're going to use a helium balloon. So I'm going to take my helium balloon here. Here's one helium balloon, and that's going to represent a positive 1. Each balloon is positive 1. And I'm going to use my sandbags down here. Each sandbag is going to represent negative 1. Okay? So think of Mr. Frog here. He's sitting on the shore, kind of right there. The shore or the water would be at 0. And as I add helium balloons, he's going to go up. And we're going to say those are positive numbers as he goes up and up. Then I could also attach sandbags to Mr. Frog. And as I add more sandbags, he's going to go down, down, down and get bigger negatives. Notice these are all negatives under the water. So every sandbag is negative 1, he goes down. Every helium balloon is positive 1, he goes up. Okay? So I'm going to erase that, and we're going to look at these examples I have. They're the same as the ones on your paper. Okay? So with each of these examples, I want you to show the arrows for what's happening to Mr. Frog. Right? So notice if I have 3 balloons, he's going to go up 3. And then 9 more balloons that I attach to Mr. Frog, he's going to go up, up, up even more. So on a number line, it would look like this, plus 3, plus 9, and I can tell he'd end up here at positive 12. Okay? Let's do another one. So Mr. Frog starts at 0, 8 plus 2. So 8 balloons. You're showing this on your paper that he's going to go up 8 with 8 balloons. Add 2 more balloons, and he ends up at 10. Okay? That's just basic addition that you've done since elementary school. What about adding negatives? Okay? So, now remember I'm adding sandbags, so he's going to go down for each negative. So, this number sentence says negative 6 plus negative 1. So that's the same as saying 6 sandbags takes him to negative 6. 1 more sandbag takes him to negative 7. Okay? What about, I'm going to clear this so you can see. What about negative 7 and negative 4? So 7 sandbags, negative 7, and then 4 more sandbags, and he ends up at negative 11. That's a negative 11. Okay? So in these examples, we say the signs are the same because I have positives and more positives, positive and positive, or negative and negative, negative and negative. But either way, I'm adding 2 integers that have the same sign. Okay? And in all of those cases, so in every one of these, he either went up and further up, or down and further down, and ended up at either a bigger positive if I'm adding positives together, or he ended up down here at a bigger negative if I was adding negatives together. Okay? So let's look at some examples now where the signs are different. Okay? Well, what does that mean? Well, here I can see that I have a positive and a negative. Those are integers with different signs. A negative and a positive. The signs are different. A positive and a negative and a positive. Now we're looking at examples where we're adding integers and those two integers have different signs, okay? So let's again use our balloons and sandbags on our number line. So my first one says 3 plus -9. So that's 3 balloons. He would go up to 3. And then 9 negatives mean I'm putting 9 sandbags on him. He's going to go down 9. You can use your number line here to count. Down 9, and we can see we end up at -6. Okay? Let me clear that. How about the next one? You're drawing these arrows on your paper as well, up or down for each of the arrows. Okay, 5 sandbags, 8 balloons. 5 sandbags, 5 negatives, 8 balloons, 8 positives, and you can see we end up at 3. Okay? How about the next one? 6 balloons, 1 sandbag, right? 6 balloons, 1 sandbag. So he goes up to 6. You're writing this, the arrows on your paper. 1 sandbag is going to bring him down to 5. All right, and then the last one, 7 sandbags, 4 balloons. Where will Mr. Frog end up? 7 sandbags and 4 balloons. We'll bring them back up. And I can see I'm at -3. Okay, so what happened each time when the signs were different? Well, since I have arrows going both directions, they don't get bigger. My answer actually gets smaller, right? I'm kind of subtracting these two numbers to get my answer. And what I'm really doing is looking to see which do I have more of. Do I have more balloons and he's going to end up in the air, right? A positive number. Or do I have more sandbags and he's going to end up down here somewhere in the negative numbers. Okay? That's all you got to think about. More balloons, positive answer, he ends up somewhere floating up here. More sandbags, negative answer, he ends up somewhere in the water. We can also look at opposites, right? Or what we said were also called additive inverses. What if I put balloons and sandbags on Mr. Frog, but they are opposite numbers, right? 3 balloons, 3 sandbags. Well, he ends up back at 0. 8 sandbags and 8 balloons. Oh, he ends up back at 0. These are examples where we're adding opposite numbers, right? 6 balloons, 6 sandbags. Those are opposites, and he's going to end up at 0. 7 sandbags, 7 balloons. Those are opposites. He's going to end up back at 0. So we can also realize that anytime we add opposites together, we get 0. Okay, so let's kind of summarize what we figured out here. When we add two integers and the signs are the same, so either positive and positive or negative and negative, and we put them together, they combine. They get bigger, right? So show me like positive arrow and a positive arrow, you end up at a bigger positive. Sandbag, a negative number and a negative number, you end up at a bigger negative. So they combine to either make a bigger positive, you go higher and higher, or they combine to make a bigger negative, you go lower and lower. All right, when we add and the signs are different, so that means 1 positive and 1 negative, or 1 negative and 1 positive. When we put those together, to get the answer, we're actually going to subtract. Because what we're trying to figure out is which one do I have more of, okay? If you have more balloons, if the positive is bigger, you add more balloons, you're going to end up with a positive answer. If you add more sandbags, if the negative is bigger, you end up with a negative answer, okay? So really when the signs are different, we're just trying to figure out which one do I have more of and how many. Okay, how many more balloons? How many more sandbags? And then if we happen to add opposites, where we have equal sandbags and balloons, we end up at 0. So adding opposites, we get 0. Okay, we've been looking at a vertical number line that goes up and down. but I wanted to show you, you could also take this number line and just rotate it a little bit so that it's going right and left, what we call a horizontal number line. And in this case, now this is getting bigger positives to the right, and these are my getting bigger negative numbers to the left. Okay, so adding balloons, I'd move this way. Adding sandbags, I'd move this way to the negatives. Okay, so this is the way we usually see number lines, and we're going to use number lines, horizontal number lines like this for the next few examples. Okay, so these first four, you have the number lines on your paper. You're going to do these problems with me on the number lines that you have on your sheet. Okay, so notice first that I have positive and positive, 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 negative, 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 negative. In these four examples, the signs are the same. I'm adding two numbers that both have the same sign. So let's draw our arrows. So you're going to do the same thing on your paper and get an answer. Okay, if I go positive 8 and then add 3 more, it would look like this. Here's positive 8. You're doing this on your paper. Plus 3 more. And we can see we end up here at 11. How about 4 and 5? Okay, I can go to positive 4. Then I can add 5 more. And I end up here at 9. Okay, I'm going to clear that so we can look at the next couple. If I have negative 6 and negative 1, right? 6 sandbags would take me to here. 1 more sandbag would take me further down. And I end up at negative 7. Or how about the last one? Negative 2 and negative 7. So 2 sandbags, 7 sandbags, and I can see I end up here at negative 9. So in these examples, again, we're adding where the signs are the same. My arrows go in the same direction. So I'm either going positive and more positive, or I'm going negative and more negative. And so they add up. They combine to make a bigger positive or a bigger negative. Okay, next slide. On your paper now we're looking at where I'm adding and the signs are different. Okay, notice a negative and a positive and a negative, negative and a positive, positive and a negative. I'm adding two integers together that have different signs. Okay, so let's use our number line again. Negative 8 plus 3. Well, 8 sandbags takes me to here. That's negative 8. But then 3 balloons would take me back up towards 0. And you can see you end up at negative 5. And that makes sense. I have 5 more sandbags than I do balloons, so I end up here at negative 5. How about the next one? 4 plus negative 5. 4 balloons, 5 sandbags. I have 1 more sandbag than balloons. I end up at negative 1. Okay? Negative 6 plus 1. 6 sandbags, 1 balloon. I have 5 more sandbags than I do balloons. I end up at negative 5. And my last one, 2 plus negative 7. 2 balloons. You're drawing these on your paper as we go, thinking through it, following along. And then 7 negatives, 7 sandbags. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, where do I end up? Or where does Mr. Frog end up? Well, I have 5 more negatives than I do positives, 5 more sandbags than I do balloons, so I end up at negative 5. Okay, so you need to finish these examples. There are, 15 quick problems here. Your job is to write either S or D. Are the signs the same or different? And then work it out and evaluate the answer. So I'm going to look here and I'm going to say a positive and a negative. The signs are different. I have 1 more negative. I'm going to look here. The signs are the same, so I know those add up. They combine to make 10 negatives. Hit pause right now, finish these, and then resume when you're ready to check your answers. Okay, check these over, see how you did. We'll be doing more practice in class.